And I have a deep love for Brazilian food. Um, I don't know that I was all that adventurous in my food choices before I went to Brazil. I came to appreciate different styles and textures and tastes, and particularly the tropical and different tastes of Brazil. In the Amazon region, they do eat a fair amount of freshwater fish caught out of the rivers, which they use for a dish like vatapá, which is kind of a bread soup with fish and shrimp, and the flavors are amazing. Um, Shrimp is also popular. Um, in Rio Branco, Acre, I was introduced to tacacá, which it's made by making a broth with a certain leaf, and I don't even know that I remember which leaf it is. Nothing dangerous or hallucinogenic, but tasty. And they usually mix in some shrimp, and it's good and it's savory. But there's an interesting effect that it kind of numbs your tongue and your mouth, and while it's odd, it's wonderful. And oh, I wish I could have more of it. As a rather exotic food for middle of the United States and middle of the desert Utah, but it's wonderful. Brazilians are very fond of, they call it churrasco. Portuguese or Spanish, they might say it churrasco, just barbecued meat. They'll put it on a spit and cook it for however long it needs to cook, and it's delicious. The Brazilians love to season their food. I feel like, especially after I came home from Brazil, I had the contrast of American food, and it tasted kind of bland and flavorless. They're not afraid to use salt and butter and all kinds of seasonings. It just makes their food wonderful. Brazilian feijoada, if you can get their black bean stew, it is wonderful. Sometimes it's a little spicy, sometimes not, but there's so much protein and goodness and meat, and stir in a little lime juice with it, and it's just wonderful tasting. I became a big fan of the Brazilian style stroganoff, which usually is it's either stew meat or chicken cooked in heavy cream with tomatoes or tomato sauce, and you pour it over rice, and usually these little potato shoelace strings, they call them, about that long, and they're crispy, crunchy, and just wonderful tasting food. I did get to try some tropical fruits. I ate coconut straight off the tree a couple of times. Pineapple was abundant. Bananas, I only tried 4 or 5 of the varieties of bananas. I even once ate a plantain by mistake. Those you eat cooked, not raw, by the way. I'm just trying to think. There's avocados in Brazil are gorgeous, and they're beautiful and tasty. They're about this big around, maybe about the size of a cantaloupe, an American cantaloupe. And I used to cut one in half, and I'd scoop out the goodness inside, and I'd mix it with a little sugar and milk and sometimes an apple, and I'd have a smoothie for breakfast. And it carried me over all morning. I'm walking around in the hills and up and down and on the streets in the hot heat, and that smoothie carried me through, but it was tasty. You can usually find